Perfect. Well, thank you again, everybody, for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Jecca Guajardo. I feel like I said it right that time.
You said it
Who's
great.
joining us from the American Heart Association. So I'll go ahead and let you have it.
Thank you so much, Felicia. And thank you guys for hanging out with me for the next, hour or so. I'm Jecca Guajardo. It's actually short for Jessica. There is a funny story. If we have time, we'll get to like what happened between Jessica and Jecca. But yes, it's Jecca Guajardo. And I've got about 20 years of experience in HR, working in nonprofit. Right now, I work for the American Heart Association as a senior HR director, but I've been in tech, hospitality, yes, Whataburger, startups. I work for a couple of global companies, and been really enjoying that. I am an author. I just published my first book called Coffee Courage and a Little Bit of Turbulence, which talks about leadership development. And I do have a biweekly blog on LinkedIn called The Leadership Pause. So I included my content in the chat. So share with me, follow me. I would love to follow you back and hear about your journey. But as I mentioned, I have about 20 years of experience in nonprofit, in tech, hospitality, and startup. And I am also a graduate of Western Governors University, where I earned my bachelor's and my master's degree. Absolutely love it. I will say up front, guys, WGU played a huge important role in my career. As I mentioned, 20 years, and I had a lot of like hands-on experience in HR before I decided to go back to school. But I feel like with WGU, what it gave me was language. It helped me put the structures and names to things. When I was going through all of my is they would talk about models and frameworks and ways of thinking that I was using. I just didn't know there was a name of it. So this made me more intentional, a more intentional leader with it. So I've always been a huge advocate for WGU because it really is a great school, and I'm proud to have gone there. So today, what we're going to talk about is, leadership. So today, what I do right now at the American Heart Association is I focus on leadership development, executive coaching, and mentoring. So a lot of what I'll be sharing with you today comes from my experiences with me personally, but also with the different leaders that I work with, what works, what doesn't, and what I wish I had known a little earlier in my career. And I do want to acknowledge, something when I talked to Felicia, she was like, oh, yeah, there's people who want to hear about the HR experience, which totally cool. Huge fan of that. Um, um, there's a lot to talk about, but if that's not what the area that you want to go down, that's completely fine, because what we're going to talk about today applies to any role that you're working with people, which is basically every role in the job. At any point, Felicia, if there's any questions in the chat, just tell me, Jecca, stop talking, and I'll be happy to answer that question for anybody. So I was told that again, there's different. There's been interest in hearing for someone in HR, so I would absolutely bring that perspective. But one of the things, honestly, some of the most important things I learned for my career in HR, or even in business, in a business environment, I learned in retail. So my first job before I got into HR, I was in retail. I worked for, and I'm going to age myself because it was called Foley's at the time. Now people call it Macy's because those companies merged, but at the time it was called Foley's. And I was in retail and I was in customer service. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, put a one in the chat. I'm curious if I'm aging myself by saying that, but I really believe everyone should. Oh, good, thank you. Everyone should have a role or a job in customer service at any point in their lives, because in those roles you learn how to deal with people in real time, right? You learn how to talk to someone who's frustrated. You learn how to navigate different personalities. You learn how to balance expectations, sometimes with not a lot of information. And those skills, guys, really translate everywhere. So that experience helped me more than anything else when I moved into HR, because at the end, HR is people, and people are gray, but you can do it in any role, but definitely people are gray. So with that, yes, I believe that everyone is a customer wholeheartedly, absolutely. And that's the philosophy that I even teach in my classes to my fellow HR teammates, of like, look at the people that you support, because HR is a supportive role to a business. So we support the organization in order for them to succeed. So my customer is the internal customer, so I treat them as such. Thanks for saying that, by the way. Um, but in HR, or any career, you have a lot of balancing to do. You're wearing a lot of hats. You balance your expectations, you're dealing with emotions, you don't have a lot of information, and you still have to respond. And sometimes there is not a script, for that. So shortcut wise, um, oh yeah. Sorry, I can see the chat, so I'm pardon me if I'm like pausing to read that too. I want to be respectful of if anybody's telling me to slow down or anything like that. Um, so there's no like shortcuts. But what I want to share with you are patterns and things I've consistently lead to success. The first is a core framework that I've always followed and I've always given to new leaders coming into their careers. Um, and if I had to simplify it, there's just those three: curiosity, accountability, and adaptability. Okay, so let's start first with curiosity. If there's one thing I could tell you entering the workforce, it's stay curious, no matter what space you're in. Ask questions early and ask them often. You've probably heard it. There's no such thing as a silly question or a simple question or a dumb question. That is so true, especially if you're coming into a new environment, especially if you're in a new role, you just got promoted, whatever the case may be. Ask them often, not to prove yourself. That's not where I'm going with that, but it's to understand. Kind of step back a little bit with that one. One of the biggest things that I see that slows people down is assumption. We think we understand how things work, how decisions are made, or what success looks like, and we don't always stop to verify it. So whatever role, whatever space you land in, if it's you're staying with your organization, you moved on to another organization, be curious, ask the question. So how are decisions made here? What does success look like for this role? Why did we do it this way instead of this way? The people I feel who grow fast are the ones with that don't have all the answers. They're always the one who asks the really good questions. So keep that in mind. So curiosity is the first one. The next one is accountability. And I just don't mean your like job. Like if you have a day-to-day role and you're held accountable to doing that role. I mean owning your work, following through, taking the initiative. It looks like what you say you're going to do. It looks like making mistakes without deflecting, or, well, I didn't have this in because they didn't get it to me. Ultimately, it falls on you. It looks like focusing on solutions rather than, making like excuses or things like that. Because your reputation, no matter what role you're in, is built in those small moments. The people will remember if you follow up, right? The people will remember, they'll remember if you're consistent. And most importantly, they'll remember if they can rely on you. Small moments. You don't have to knock it out of the park. Every time like I talk to new leaders, they'll tell me like, "Oh, I'm on this big project and it's going to get me promoted." And it's just like, just the one? It's like, how about showing up on time? How about, doing what you say you were going to do? Again, small moments make a big deal. And people watch. People observe. They see those moments. And then the final one, or part of that framework, I believe, is adaptability. Things change. Lord, things change. Even when you're used to something changing and you're like, okay, I'm grounded, it changes again. Teams change, priorities shift, leadership evolves, your customer changes what their desires, their wants, their needs. If you ever if you're one of those people who everything needs to be the same in order to be successful, you'll probably struggle with that, because we will always, an organization will always change to keep up. So my advice is always stay adaptive. um, but if you can adjust, if you can stay grounded while things shift around you, you will definitely stand out. Like, and what does that mean? That means, not getting flustered, like taking it all in. We talked about curiosity and asking the questions of like, why did this change? So you can get clarity. Don't make assumptions. Oh, we changed it just because. It's like, well, why did we do that? So at least you can get a little bit more grounded. You have more information. So those are basically those three core frameworks that I've always kind of stood by. That's the three advice components that I give new leaders. I give my new HR peeps that are coming through and giving them advice as well. So I'm going to pause for a second because I've been talking solid for the last like 13 minutes. Felicia, is there any questions that need to be addressed yet?
I don't see any in the chat just yet. Does anybody have any questions they would like to throw in there? Give it a second.
Mhm.
I'm not seeing any
Okay.
hands raised.
No worries, no worries. You can always ask. Just let me know. Like I said, sometimes I do a lot of talking. But and when you combined, the curiosity, the accountability, and the adaptability, you build trust. And the more of the curiosity, accountability, and adaptability you have, I always call it the trust bank. You start building trust, you start building it, it starts accumulating with interest, like all of those things. And what does that mean for you? Trust with your leaders because they see all those qualities in you. Trust with your peers because they know, like, I can rely on this person. And it's also the trust with the people you support as well. Remember, if in any capacity where you're in a service a function in your organization, you are supporting a customer. And so those people will now have trust in you. And I feel, along with your capabilities, when you have that trust, that's what moves your career forward. So, as I mentioned earlier, I wrote a book. And by the way, full disclosure for me, I am not a writer. I do not. Like, if somebody goes, "You wrote a book." Oh my gosh, when did you write it? I'm like, "Oh, it's taken me about 5 years to do it, and it's probably like 150 pages." And to this day, I still can't believe I wrote 150 pages of anything, but definitely not a writer. um, the uh, the idea of the book came from a lot of the observations that I made with leaders, and this is something that I'm very, very passionate about in the book, is really about self leadership. um, I'll give you kind of like a little sneak peek of the first part. I am with the company, with the organization I work for. I live in San Antonio, but our main hub is in Dallas. So I'm pretty much going back and forth on Southwest like all the time, between Dallas and San Antonio. And it was like 6 o'clock in the morning. And, I was trying to get the coffee to kick in, if you will. And I was listening to the flight attendant. And again, I do it often. So I've heard the same speech that they give. And then they will say, like, in the event that we lose cabin pressure in the cabin, the oxygen mask will drop. And when they say that, just really quick in the chat, what do they say next? They said, in the event of the cabin pressure dropping, the mask drops. What do they tell you to do? Does anybody remember? Save yourself. Put your mask on first, right? It's before saving others. Yes, yes. Put your mask on first. And I remember, and I've heard this message over and over and over and over. Like, I'm like, I know that because it makes sense. Like, you have to put the mask on before you can help someone else. Because everything we talked about here starts with how you lead yourself. And you have to lead yourself before you can lead anyone else. And we've heard that phrase, put your mask on first. And in real life, though, in real life, sometimes we don't always do that. We don't always think about those things. We push through, we react, we take on more than we should. And it shows up on, with how we work with people. So self leadership, it starts with managing yourself, managing your energy, being aware how you show up, taking accountability for your growth. And this applies to whether you're leading a team or not. You're interacting with people, you are a self leader. So, and with that comes the responsibility of it. So getting very grounded in what that means. And, we talked about the accountability, the curiosity and the adaptability. But another piece that I feel is really important is also advocating for yourself too, as you are navigating your career and what the next chapter is for you. And it's a story that I will never forget. I was told this story. If we're in 2026, oh my gosh, I'm like aging myself. This was like 15 years ago, but it has always stuck with me. So hang out with me a minute while I tell you. So this story, and I always tease because her name was Mary, and I'm like, there's something about Mary. Again, might be aging myself if you're aware of that movie. If you are, hang with me. Um, so Mary, she was in law school, and was she had big aspirations of what she wanted to do. um she's like, by year 5 I want to do this, by year 10 I want to be here, by year, like, all the way out. She was just really, really determined. She was accepted into a law firm in Austin, and she wanted to prove herself. So she got in there, and they gave her the most complicated briefs that law firm had. And she would come in at like 6:30 in the morning. She would leave at like 8 o'clock in the morning, heads down, working on these briefs. And people would be like, whoa, thank you so much for your help with all these briefs. And she's like, glad to do it. Let me have them. Give me more. Why? Because she felt like the more I do, the more they see I'm strong at these things, and I can, and I'll get promoted into that next, because they see I am focused and I'm determined to work hard and to do all the things, right? So she did for a solid year, heads down, 7 to 7. She would work. They would say, Mary, hey, we're going to go to lunch. Do you want to grab? Nope, I'm working on this brief. I got it. Thank you, though. Appreciate it. And they're like, no problem. And then they would move on. They would see her work and be like, whoa, this is awesome. Good job. I'm probably paraphrasing that. I don't see a bunch of lawyers going, whoa, but you know what I mean. They were probably very pleased with her work. They would win a case, and they would want to go the firm would want to go celebrate, and they would say, hey, Mary, come with us. And she's like, nope, got to work on this brief, got to work on this stuff for this lawyer. And in her law firm, they did promotions annually. So they were about to hit that year. And she did, like, again, she did everything right. She worked hard, she showed up, she delivered consistently. She didn't get promoted. I see Felicia's kind of like nodding. I can't see other people, but I saw Felicia, I saw you nod. I think you know where I'm going to go with this one. So she was mad. She's like, I did this for the last year and a half. I've been working my butt off. Someone more friendly. Actually, no, it was you're close with that one, but Caroline. But so she went to her leader's office and said, "Hey, I'm a little mad. Why didn't I get this? I worked hard. I showed up. I did all the things." And the leader looked up at her and kind of was like, gave her kind of this confused look and said, "I didn't know that's what you wanted." And she said, "Well, what do you mean?" She's like, "Well, you were working on all these briefs. You worked and you loved doing it and you were so great at it and you didn't want to do anything like else. So this is what we thought. We didn't know you wanted to be promoted." And she pulled back and she kind of started reflecting the whole year. She did everything right except one thing. She didn't speak up. She didn't say what she wanted. She didn't share her aspirations. It will probably look a little different. And um, for those who are curious, Mary was legal counsel for 5 organizations, and she started advocating for herself. It was a very young in her career move, but she always said, like, advocate for yourself. So that's one of the biggest things I will share with you today is the advocating for yourself. Don't assume people know what you want. Don't assume leaders know what you want. Say it. If you're interested in saying in something, whether it be in HR or whether it would be in a different part of an organization, share it. If you want to grow, ask what that looks like. Instead of saying, I want to advance, which is a great first way that's a great first statement. I want to advance. I want to be promoted. Don't stop there. Ask, what does advancement look like here? What skills and experiences do I need? And what opportunities or what projects can I be a part of here? If you see somebody with a role that seems fascinating to you, go ask them, how did you get here? Talk to me about your history. Talk to me about your life experiences because I'm interested. If you can have a coffee in a break room, go do that. Whatever the case may be, ask, but also advocate for yourself. Your leader can support you, but I will say this, and I'm pretty sure they cannot read your mind. Pretty sure they can't. Now, with that though, when we talk about what that looks like, and let's say you find that thing, that next chapter that you want to do, and you're just like, that it's that this I saw it, I was part of this team, and I love this aspect. It could be in HR, it can be in anything, whatever the case may be. This is what I want to do. Perfect. I'm going to go to my leader. Hey leader, this is what I want to do. How do I get more exposure to this? Give your leader time to answer that for you. Sometimes you can be ready to have a conversation, but the person you're having the conversation with isn't necessarily ready to have it with you. So be mindful if they say, I don't know, let me go figure it out. Give them a little grace. I've had moments where I have new people like come and say, well, they couldn't answer me. I'm like, well, wait, how did you ask them? And they're like, well, I just asked them on Teams. Like, okay, you may want to like schedule some time with them and give them the questions so that they can better prepare, just it's an important conversation. So when you're ready to have that, let your leader know, I would like to talk about these things. Let me schedule time with you, or let them have the opportunity to have those moments with you. So, but give a little grace with that one. So I'm going to pause. Do any questions, Felicia, so far?
We do have a couple of questions.
Mhm.
So Caroline asked us, do you find that professionalism and how people carry and present themselves is changing or has changed over the years?
I do. And I will be very forthright because if I was doing this in person, I have a tattoo on my finger, which is honoring my nephew who passed of cancer, and those are his jersey numbers. I do have a streak of blue hair because I like the color blue, and I have a nose ring in my nose. Um, those are part of my identity. When I interviewed for the American Heart Association, this is how I presented myself. I'm very confident in what I can contribute to the organization, but this is also me. And they had a choice of whether or not to hire me. But one thing I will say is that that professionalism does look different for different organizations. When I talk to people who are interviewing and ready to go out into the workforce, um, I say interview them just as much as they're interviewing you. Take an account of like how people are dressed. Take an account of the environment that they are in. If you are a uh, nice jeans with a nice shirt and everybody's in a suit, maybe that's not the space for you. If everybody, like when I worked for a tech company, I will never forget this. And I was actually, and I'm glad I did because it was a great company. I worked at Home Depot, and everybody at a Home Depot was dressed in jeans, and t-shirt, at like Home Depot. But in their corporate offices, they were dressed in slacks and very nice, like nice clothes. And when I went to go interview for Rackspace, which was the tech company here in San Antonio, I came in the suit, give, first impressions and things like that. The guy walked in, and it was the VP. He came in a Hawaiian shirt and flip flops and blue jeans, and I was like, oh, this is a little bit different, but it was the culture of that organization. And they teased me like people would walk by and they would tease me like, oh, you're here for an interview, because that's the only time people would ever dress up, because it was an interview. So I do believe professionalism has changed, but with that, it's understanding the culture of the organization to make sure that for you, if it's a fit for you. And I was fortunate that the organizations I work for, they were a fit for me. You said that was another question. That was a great question, by the way. Caroline, kudos, bud.
We do have another question. I'm going to try to summarize a bit,
Mm-hmm.
but Bazash mentioned that he recently graduated with their accounting degree
Hey,
and did
congratulations.
commencement this past Saturday. So
Yay,
congratulations for sure there.
that's awesome.
Um, they mentioned that they've been working for a company for a while, and
Mm-hmm.
their manager typically will tell them that they can't on a lot of things. But they did decide to announce that they had graduated in by sending out a group email to all of their colleagues,
Mm-hmm.
and the manager was upset by this, saying that it wasn't really a big deal in the office and that they shouldn't have sent an email out. Their question that they lost a bit of confidence and that it hurt, and they feel like it might have impacted negatively on their tenure with the company. They would like some advice on really how to recover from this and, um, really, really how to move forward.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. My first instinct, I'm sorry, what was his name? Benz,
Bazash, and I hope
Bazash.
I'm saying it right. I'm sorry.
Bazash, tears in my eyes. Bazash, I would, my first instinct was that it has nothing to do with you and everything to do with the individual. It People are going to react differently to things. Um, I personally applaud it because working full time and going to school is very, very hard. So I applaud you for that. Um, Sometimes I have to, like, if something hurts me some sort of way, or I feel something some sort of way, I go talk directly to the individual and get clarity, like, on it. And if you do feel comfortable enough asking, basically saying, like, this hurt my feelings. If you feel comfortable enough to have that conversation. Um, the other part of it too is, we talked about, professionalism in the workplace, is whether or not, that space is where you can thrive as well. You know, that's a something to consider, too. There were plenty of times in my career where um, I would have conversations and I would be, hurt by some of the comments that were made. And I had a choice of how I wanted to respond to those things. So I would put it back on you of, what do you feel is the correct response for you? We all have different life experiences, and I know what I would do, but what I would do is different from what you may do. So, um, confidence wise, consider that you worked full time, graduated. It's hard work. I've been there. Sometimes I thought, "Oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to do this." But so kudos to you for doing that. You know how hard you worked, and that's all that matters. But as you are um, oh my gosh. Congratulations. Oh, then you have your kids graduating. That's amazing as well. But yeah, reflect on those moments for yourself to see, like, what's the right next step for you. If it's addressing it, if it's not addressing it, if it's letting it go, whatever the case may be, only you can answer that question. But you in your heart of hearts know how hard you have worked, and that you can sometimes that's the most important piece.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, do you want me to? Did we have any more, or should I keep on going? I have a little bit left.
I'll let you go ahead and move forward for now, and then I can read over the next questions or the next comments that came through, and then we can circle back.
Sure. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So a couple of things the I told you, like, I wish I would have known these early in my career. I'd probably, I mean, I'm happy with where I landed with the different organizations and my education, but there are some things I wish I would have known earlier. So I'm going to share them with you. So your reputation is built on small moments. It's not knocking it out of the park 100% of the time. It really is those small moments. Following up matters more than people realize. It's just not about point, there it is. It's like, hey, did you get what you need? Just a small moment. You don't have to be perfect, but you do need to progress. And I always tell my new leaders, progress over perfection, progress over perfection. Keep moving forward. And honestly, a lot of success isn't about being the best, it's about being consistent, learning quickly, paying attention, and showing up. So, I had a few questions that I wanted to add. Felicia, we don't have to put the screen up, but I can ask you. So, full disclosure, guys, as I mentioned, I'm in learning development. My first role in HR was in learning development. I was a trainer. That was my first gig, and I kind of like walked through HR. Um, um, so I have anytime I teach a class or anytime I'm talking to a panel or anything, I always ask questions. So I'm going to ask y'all questions. So I covered a lot with you. I talked about the core frameworks of curiosity, accountability, and adaptability. about advocating for yourself, um, about showing up. And now I want to ask you the question, and you don't have to put it in the chat. It's just something for you to reflect on. Out of anything you've heard today, what's that one thing that you're going to take and build your muscle on? What's that one thing you're going to take from you that you heard today that you're like, you know what? I need to do that more for myself, or I need to be more intentional about this. Speaking up. Yep, I agree. Lead yourself. Put your mask on first, guys. Definitely. Consistency. So, what will you take today? Am I aging myself? Does everybody know that's Kermit the Frog, by the way? How will you show up for your next role? And what will you do if you don't know the answer? Stand up for myself. There you go. You found your answer. Me too. Caroline, we might be the same age. um, but I love it. I love it. Take that with you. I appreciate you guys popping that in the chat of like, what am I going to take for myself? But like, take that for yourself. Remember this conversation and saying like, how can I move forward in my career? I promise you, you will not um, regret that if you step into that. Might feel uncomfortable. I always tell people it's kind of like a rubber band. Whenever you stretch a rubber band, it feels tight and it feels uncomfortable and it feels like it's going to snap. That tension is good because that tension is growth. Because when you let when you let that rubber band go, it will propel you forward. So, as you're thinking about those moments of tension, as you're going through your career, as you're kind of deciding what next steps to take, and you're feeling that tension, it's growth. It's growth. It does feel uncomfortable, but man, when you let it go, it's gonna make you move forward.
Somebody
So,
mentioned that they were afraid of retaliation when considering speaking up for themselves. Do you have any, critiques or examples of how people could work on this? I know it's definitely a practice skill, but for somebody that's really trying to work on this,
mhm.
where would you recommend starting?
So with conversations that are crucial, I've always about the fact. If I always state the facts of here's what happened, here's the situation, here is what happened, and here is its impact. I try to be very objective, and it's actually a model. If anybody's in HR and does any kind of coaching, they'll probably be like, wait a minute, that sounds familiar. It is. It's called the SBI model. It's situation, behavior, and impact. So it is a thing. Learn that here. And before I talk to anybody about anything about potential retaliation, everything, I need to get myself centered. Like I can't go into anything with on emotion. So before I respond, the way I react, I kind of like shake it out because it's like, oh, it hurt me, or things like that. I would talk to my leader like this is what the way I was feeling, this is what happened, this is what uh the way it made me feel, and this is how I would move on, and this is what I want. That's the other thing. It's like when you do talk about things, whether it's something a leader said, something a person said, I always like ask as an HR person, it's like, thank you for telling me what's next. What would you like me to talk to this individual? Do you want to talk to them? Do you just want a sounding board? So don't assume. Again, be curious, ask, get clarity from what do you want out of that conversation or out of that situation, because what I think is irrelevant. It's what the individual thinks. So definitely shaking out the emotional piece of it, it's important, but when you're addressing it with somebody, like being very objective um, in in that situation.
Perfect. We do have another question, well, a
Mhm,
couple here from
mhm.
Omar. So the first question
Hi, Omar.
is, what was it that made you choose an HR profession over others?
Oh, um, I, uh, I like helping people at the end of the day. At the end of the day, I love helping people and I love supporting people. Honestly, when I talked about customer service and retail, it kind of came from that. I liked helping people find that perfect this or that perfect that. And when my leader at the time asked me like, hey, you should teach others on customer service, and I was like, okay. I kind of went into it accidentally, and then I started getting more exposure to different aspects of HR, like payroll and benefits and L&D and employee relations, analytics. And I was like, oh, this is so big. I had no idea HR was like this. So um, I knew that as long as I was helping people, I was in the right space. And I'm a huge believer in love what you do what you love. And that is the space that why I chose HR, and I stay in it. If I wasn't in HR, and my leader asks me this all the time, I would probably be a teacher, helping people, teaching people. You said there were two.
There were two questions.
Mhm.
The second was, what are your thoughts on AI in corporate jobs and in the near future?
I use AI. I am one of those people that I really, really do use AI. I use AI as a tool. I do often see sometimes people use AI and that is the solution for everything. I think it's a tool, just like a calculator is a tool. Excel spreadsheets are a tool. Things like that. I do use AI to help me with my work. And the one thing that I feel is really valuable, and we were actually having this conversation earlier today with my organization, is sometimes with AI, it catches things I miss because maybe like I'm heads down writing notes on something, and then I'm using AI to help me process my notes, and I have the my AI set up to like basically challenge me with rationale. Like I ask it to ask me, so I make sure that I get a complete picture. And that's one of the ways it helps me kind of like zoom out a little bit when I'm too zoomed in. So I absolutely love it. I think it's a great tool. I don't think it solves everything. Even in my chat gbt at the very bottom, it says ChatGPT makes mistakes. Make sure you're verifying it. I'm like, that is very, very true. And so I think it's an adopter of technology. I think it's great. It's a tool. I don't think it solves everything. I just think it makes things a lot easier. But you still need the human element because people are gray. Is it wise for a person to use AI assistant in resume? Yeah, heck yeah. I told you I am not like not a writer. I didn't use AI to write my book, but I did use AI to help me edit the book. I did use AI to help me edit it because writing is not my superpower. So I would like write and it would catch like this is a run on Jecca. Sorry, thank you. Let me go fix that. This is misspelled, wrong tense. But yes, I would definitely use it um, for resume writing. The other thing too, though, is again, it's a tool. There are services, and I know because I use the services here with WGU to get my job. Um, um, is that there are services with resume writing as well. So even if you use that tool, have I was going to say have an adult, have a human look at it to make sure that it doesn't write. So again, it's a tool, but it doesn't replace that human interactions with you. Absolutely not.
I agree. I was going to say we actually offer
Yeah.
free
that's
job
how,
scan
yeah,
profiles. So JobScan is a
yes,
very useful AI tool where you can scan the job description you're applying to and your resume, and it'll help you write it to
that's
tailor it
awesome.
to that specific job. So it's very useful, but then at the same time, you're always able to go in and schedule an appointment with our advisors for that personal touch as well. So definitely those are some tools that we have available that just make the job a little bit easier. It's a pretty tough market out there. So why not use every little leg up that we can get in the process?
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely, is JobScan a free? Oh, that's a question for you. It's, is it a free service? And
So it's typically not, but through WGU, we do have I think it's the Premier account. Everybody gets a free Premier account. When I send out our recording after the fact today, I'll make sure that I include that information. That way, anybody that hasn't had the chance to go in and check it out, you can log into your free job scan account. And then again, these
that's
are
awesome.
services that are free to you even after you graduate. So you have this service for life as an alumni. So you're always able to log back in and access these tools and still utilize the advising team for any help you need in your future job searches.
Oh yeah, I used a lot of the services right after when I graduated, like a year up until like a year later. And sometimes I'm like, oh, let me check and see if that's still offered to me. It's been a while. So yes, take advantage of all of the services that are given. I think a lot of people don't know, or it's not top of mind that your school will offer all these things because they want you to succeed. And like I said, I use the resume writing uh, function at WGU for me. And like I said, I've been doing HR for a very, very long time, but I still needed that assistance and that guidance, and it helped me.
Absolutely. Do we have any other questions? Um, let me see. Definitely, I think with reformatting a resume, JobScan can be a great way. I do think we have some tutorial videos. I'll make sure I include those for you as well for anybody that's having trouble figuring it out. I know it can be a little hard to take on a whole new system, but it's a pretty interesting setup. So, but I think we still
That's
have a few more
awesome.
minutes for a couple more questions. If anybody had anything else they would like to throw in there. If not, I can go ahead and just kind of throw in some wrap up announcements. So
Yes.
again, for anybody that would like to make any connections, you can still add your LinkedIn information to the chat here, and we're able to make some connections. I believe Jecca put hers in there as well for anybody that would like to connect and follow her weekly blogs that she does as well. I think you said that was on LinkedIn, correct?
Hmm.
Perfect.
Hmm.
And then I will be sending out an email to everybody today as well. It'll have the recording of our session on there for anybody that would like to circle back and rewatch. I'll also be able to put the job scan information in there for you as well for anybody who'd like to go in there and get signed up. There will be a survey as well for anybody that could go in and just take a few minutes to give us some feedback. It's greatly appreciated. And then finally, I would like to mention again that Career Quest starts next week, and we have several employers joining us next week. So check out the calendar. If you have the Handshake app on your phone or your device, you'll actually get alerts and reminders for any of those events as they get started for each day. So just make sure you're checking out anything coming up for spring Career Quest, and you might meet your future employer next week. So hopefully you're able to join us for a session or two. All
Awesome.
right.
Thank you for letting me hang out here talking with you guys. I wish you so much good luck. Congratulations to those who are moving on to their next chapter. That's amazing. Well, if you, I put my LinkedIn, but I get questions a lot. So DM me if you have a question, maybe need some advice, hit me up. I love to do it. As I mentioned, I have my book. If you're interested to learn more about that, let me know. But other than that, Felicia, thank you for facilitating this. I've had a great time, like uh, with the questions and just hanging out with everybody today. So thank you for this.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. It was really a privilege. And I did forget to mention Jecca's book, Coffee, Courage, and a Little Bit of Turbulence is available on Amazon. For anybody else that
Mhm.
has the Kindle Unlimited like me and is constantly reading, it's on there as well. So definitely a good read for anybody that has some time. But I'll go ahead and I'll end our recording here for now. We will have our emails coming out soon. And then again, thank you so much, Jecca, for joining us today. Your feedback was pretty good. Actually, sorry, hold on. I do see there was a question for Caleb that I think I missed. Let me try to circle back
Oh,
here.
okay.
Caleb, what section of your resume is the most valuable to the HR personnel? What section would you say to make sure
Mm.
this part stands out, to make sure stands out?
Um, for each organization, it's going to be a little bit different, but your default will always be your experience. You know, where you've been, and what you accomplished, and not only just like it's the impact those things did to it. So definitely where your job history is, it doesn't have to be like bullet points or anything like that. It could probably be like a sentence with impactful things that helped move the organization. I always felt like that's always important. That's where my eyes would go first, um, more than so just kind of, and then and then once I look at that, I look at the kind of like there's always like a summary at the top, like here's my objective or something like that. I'll always read that because the other thing is like what the individual's looking for as well too. I want to make sure like what we're offering matches what they're looking for. And if it is great, let's keep talking. And if it's not, that's okay. Maybe there's another part of the organization that would find value in this resume. But those are probably the two places my eyes go to is the experience in the job history and then the summary at the top. Sorry, Caleb, I didn't put it. Is it better to put an objective or a summary? I put summary. I do. I've seen both. It does not, it does not, some people leave it blank and they don't even put objective or summary. That's where my eyes go. Maybe I'm old school, which I hit say objective, but you don't have to you don't have to label it.
Perfect. Well, I think that might be pretty close to the last of our questions there. So again, Jecca, thank you for your time. If anybody else has any
Thank
other questions,
you.
feel free to reach out through LinkedIn. And again, just keep an eye out for these emails to come through today so that you're able to circle back for any information that you'd like. And I hope to see you in a session next week for Spring Career Quest.
Y'all have a great day. Take care.